the North is going to win this election in 2027 landslide. It is a litmus test of northern Nigeria to establish, to prove that, well, we have the population to install. And if we install a tyrant, we also have the power to throw him out.
The Tinubu government, have they crossed the lines that have made you to say, where is our democracy going? Has raised their concern?
Every existing red lines have been crossed by Tinubu. There's only one left. That's the election red line. Every red line you know. What are you talking? The rule of law, a pillar of democracy, had been taken away from the people. Civil liberties, they are clamping down on Nigerians and locking them every day. The essence of governance itself, which is provided by the Constitution, Section 14, 2, Subsection B, security and the general well-being of the people. So which red line do you, the only red line left now, look at how they changed the national anthem, a heritage. In the comfort of his bedroom, he awarded a 17 trillion naira contract to his friend, Shagore, with his son as a director in that company. Look at the caliber of people he appointed as ambassadors. Even military government send the best to represent them. Armed robbers will send imams and pastors to be their ambassadors. But Tinubu government send, discredited elements were posted out as ambassadors to represent Nigeria.
Right, welcome to Naija Unfiltered, a SYMFONI podcast. And our guest on today's edition of the program is former Minister of Sports and currently aspiring to represent the good people of Plateau South from Plateau State, Solomon Dalung, Esquire. Good to have you, Honorable Minister.
It's always my pleasure to have you on my side. You have made my day.
Thank you very much. Let's help us make sense out of the Court of Appeal judgment annulling the state congresses and national convention of the ADC.
The judgment of the Court of Appeal annulling the congresses for the respondents who were plaintiffs at the lower court is victory without benefit. Because they went to court to stop the congresses. And fortunately for them, they were late. And they did not even serve us. So on the day of our national convention, that was the day the matter was heard. And they were seeking to restrain us while the national convention was going on. And their lawyer did mention that we had not been served. So they got judgment at the Court of First Instance, and they have gotten judgment now. And the benefit of that judgment is that the congresses had been cancelled. So what benefit did they take? Their tenure expired on the 19th of May. And they did mention in their case. So they got judgment, yes, but without benefit. And it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't change anything. But nonetheless, we're going upstairs.
So it does not have any implication for the party in terms of their candidates?
No, from the relief source is very, very clear. Very, very clear. It has nothing at all to do with even the candidates of the party, because the candidates of the party were produced through the primaries as required by the Electoral Act. So we are cool, we are good, we are comfortable. In any case, if there is anything, the issue is still, we're heading to the Supreme Court to lay the matter to rest finally.
Are you in any way worried that major challenges to President Tinubu could be eliminated before the election? And what would be the implications for our democracy?
That is wishful thinking anyway. But assuming not conceding, it becomes a reality, then we will be dealing with a state of emergency, because that will be the only way President Tinubu will survive. To go for a state of emergency where he has even a National Assembly under his firm control, that would be the only thing. But eliminating major challenges, especially the ADC. The ADC is a very notorious political staff in Nigerian history, like the proverbial cat with 9 lives. We've first, so many litigations we survive in, and we still have one, and still counting. But you see, the person that may not even be nominated in 2027 is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Not even the opposition. No. Because the only person who has a very serious and a Herculean tax to be nominated is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Because already there is a judicial decision about his qualification, which the Supreme Court said the issues raised in 2023 were pre-election matters and were not raised appropriately. Now, as he continues to expand his political war against the opposition to enable him emerge as the sole candidate of 2027, he's going to fire himself with a grenade on the feet, and he will collapse, because he's the most unqualified person to be mentioned in the nomination process and transition of 2027. So that is why some of us are not even, we are not deterred, we are not worried, because there is nobody to contest election with.
Do you have the confidence in the judiciary to go the full hog and look at him and say, you are not qualified to run? 2023, they said it was pre-election matters, which presupposes that if it is raised now, then he won't stand a chance. But do you trust the judiciary and have confidence in them to look at him and say, no, you are not qualified to run?
Already a civil society group has filed a petition and has raised these qualification issues, captured it appropriately, and itemized the unanswered question. President Tinubu, in his nomination form of 2023, did mention that he went to government college, whether he pattern or so. He graduated 4 years before the school was established. He has an NYC exemption certificate in 1995. That was 1985. In 1985, exemption had not been introduced yet in NYC. He has a transcript of a university in US that has the name of a male and a female gender. So these issues need to be addressed. There are serious qualification issues. And then the issue of the forfeiture of over 400,000 to the American government in a drug-related litigation. And the Constitution is very clear that anybody who will be nominated to contest election in Nigeria must not have any relationship, real, imaginary, or contemplated, with drugs. Our Constitution contemplates that the mere mentioning of your name in a drug-related issue is a very serious qualification issue. If that alone is the issue, Tinubu cannot jump the hurdle. Back to the question of the judiciary. Let me be very frank with you. Our judiciary, as it is, has very great minds and men of honor and integrity. The judiciary is just a victim like the Nigerian people. We are just few minority of bad people created a canopy of negative reputation for the majority. Majority of the judges are very, very good. Go and read the dissenting judgment of the chairman of the panel of the Court of Appeal. When the man was reading the judgment, because I had thought I will just go and surrender my wig and gown to the Chief Justice of Nigeria and quit this profession. But when I listened to that judge, I apologized to my spirit. I became rekindled, inspired, and I held my wig and gowns very strongly. And on the strength of that man's judgment, I can lay my life for our judiciary. There are great people there. They are also suffering under the banner of the few bad eggs who enjoyed unfiltered access to politicians and create a reputation for them that they are carrying it like the cross of Jesus. And so the judiciary in 2027 will still determine the issue of qualification in favor of the Constitution of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria.
You said the judiciary is suffering, but we're just seeing a commissioning and handing over keys of very, very humongous and appetizing houses to them. First and foremost, those kind of gifts, what does it say in an election, almost election year? How do you perceive such a gift or whatever government calls it?
Do the judicial officers who are given those properties have the economic capacity to maintain them? They don't. So, those are great gifts. The judges, justices do not have the economic capacity to maintain those structures. They don't. So it's just like blackmailing. So they've just been blackmailed. That singular act of coming out in an election year, in a transition year, to build houses for the judiciary and handing over keys to them is blackmail. It's just like picking a Mercedes-Benz, the latest Mercedes-Benz, and giving it to a poor man living in Nyanya. 1, where will he park it? 2, how will he drive it? 3, how will he maintain it? This is exactly what government has done. These people need a welfare scheme that is commensurate to their colleagues elsewhere in the world. And let me tell you what will shock you. When I was in office as a minister, my salary was 840,000. Take home. Everything. Take home. Now, President we complained, and President Muhammadu Buhari set up a committee to go around other African countries and conduct a comparison survey and return back to him. And the report indicated that in Gambia, they earn even 3 or 4 times more than a minister in Nigeria. And yet, these are the people that you keep them in places, choice areas, where they cannot even maintain. They can't keep their lifestyle, they cannot maintain. So, if you look at how the keys were handed over, the justices and the judges were not smiling at all, because you have increased their predicaments. How are they going to maintain those properties?
All right, let's look at the rescue of the 46 children abducted in Oyo State and their teachers after 56 days in captivity. What's your take on that?
Well, let me congratulate those Nigerians who had suffered under rain and sun, surviving dangerous reptiles, and under humiliating conditions, daily beatings, burning of robbers on the back of those small children, and that they survive in these 56 years is the evidence of the resilience of the Nigerian spirit. I believe, I may be wrong, that even if Nigerians do not make heaven, God will, from His grace, admit them into heaven, because they have suffered hell here. And He will not want to repeat two hells for Nigerians. Look at what those small children went through. If those children are going to live for the next 70 years, can you guess their lives? Can you guess their thoughts? What are we going to do to pacify them for what they went through? The success of the operation is an indictment on the Nigerian state that it was just playing politics with the lives of those people. I've been saying this times without number, that the Nigerian military, as it is, can rescue those children, minimum 7 days, given the political will. They will design their operations, study the environment, the operational psychology of the criminals, and they will launch an attack and rescue those girls, just like they did, with minimum casualty. They have done it in Katsina. If the Katsina state government had cooperated with the military, General Rabe would have not died of snake bite in captivity. But when the state government was playing politics with the life of the general and he died, you can see what the military did. They didn't wait again. They moved in there and rescued the wife. So our military has no problem, very professional, and can do anything for this country. But you see, the military is like a car. No matter how sound a car is, if you do not engage it, it cannot move. So the military is structured in a way that it is, you can ignite it with a command. And if the commander-in-chief, who is the political head, does not engage them with a command, the military will not go anywhere. That's why Nigerians sometimes blame them. They have suffered so much in the hands of Nigerians, because Nigerians have been blaming them as, oh, they are conspiring with the terrorists. No. If you know the psychology of a Nigerian soldier, if a Nigerian soldier hears the sound of gun here, he's not going to leave this place until that gun is produced. That is his training. But they have been messed up by the politician. You deploy them into sectors, into areas, communities, and an attack, there's no order. An attack is ongoing. But the commander has not given them order to move. And soldiers are not like police. Because by the training of the police, there is what is called the discretionary act. The discretionary act is covered by the Police Act, where a policeman perceives that the behavior of the criminal is likely going to jeopardize his life, he is under that provision of the law allowed to act. The soldiers do not have those provisions. They don't. They rely on, and that's why our people keep blaming them. Oh, the soldiers were around when they were burning their houses. The commander did not give order. So, what happened in Oyo is a complete indictment and a confirmation of this my cry that we are suffering, they are killing us, they are kidnapping us because the commander-in-chief is doing politics with security, want to return to office in 2027 using insecurity.
All right, so much controversy trailed this rescue of these girls. People allege, government, the military said it was based on sophisticated intelligence and that no ransom was paid. But there have been insinuations from the larger public who say that they don't believe that there was no ransom or there was nothing that does not meet the eye that happened in all of this. More so, when the governor of the state has said he wants the UN to come in and investigate the kidnap in Oyo. What do you make of it?
Do you know why there is always forward and backward when Nigerians are kidnapped and they are in the forest? There are two factors involved. There's the security factor and there is the political economy of the situation. Now, the politicians preferred negotiation.
Why?
Because security votes will cry. So the length of the negotiation will determine how much will come out from the security vote. But for the military, they have their integrity and reputation at stake. And it's also very painful for soldiers to see what they can solve in 5 minutes, delayed for 1 hour. So if the operations had trailing controversies, it is because of these two factors. The politicians were delaying and negotiating with the bandits because of the movement of security vote from the vault into the hands of the bandits and the sharing formula between the criminal enterprise stakeholders. While the military can justify that they were not part of that deal, if there was any. Because we lost a soldier. We lost a second lieutenant, a brave, gallant officer. So if the military were in cahoot with the security vote sharing enterprise, they couldn't have lost a soldier. They could have just go there and collected the girls and come back. But there was resistance. The military had to bring in their best. They dominated the environment and they succeeded. The military gave a report of how they have been trailing the movement and the relocation of the bandit. So if there were anything about money changing hands, it is always like that. Because the rescue operations had always been resisted by the political class. And I give you a good example of what happened to Rabe. Because as at the time, the military was mounting pressure because they couldn't watch one of their own undergoing such humiliation. The politicians were also still dragging their foot because the amount of money to come out of the security vote was not huge enough, and the sharing formula was not huge enough. So they will have to drag their feet. This is what is playing out. Let's not extend this to cover our military and our security forces. They are dying in numbers and they are sacrificing their lives for us. We pray for them and we stand with them.
Let's go to the most topical issue in the polity right now. For some time, it has refused to die down, no matter the distractions that have come up this issue, which is the scandal involving the chief of staff to the president from Prince Adeniyi Adeyemi, who alleged that he paid some money for him to get appointment, and then the presidency jumping out to say that the man is an impostor and the agency he claims to run is a fake agency. What do you make out of all this scandal?
Well, the scandal is just trying to establish to Nigerians that you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. The scandal is the peak of the exposure of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government. I am not surprised, but Nigerians may be surprised. But I'm not surprised.
Really?
Yeah, how will I be surprised? I mean, this is a man that everything about him is fake. And then you expect him to be a president of Nigeria. And scandals like this will not be heard of. The controversies about the credentials of Tinubu started when he was governor of Lagos. It was over 20-something years now. But the great lawyer, Gani Fayomi, started it and fought it. Festus Keyamo was the lawyer in it. We used to listen to him and applaud him. He is today the #1 defender of fraud and fake credentials in Nigeria. My friend Nuhu Ribadu. Nuhu Ribadu is my very great friend, and I'm going to disclose it today. When Yar'Adua was fighting him, and he left this country, I was the only person that Nuhu Ribadu took the risk to return from exile to visit me in the University of Jos as a lecturer. And when he came, he couldn't come out of the car. He was in a tinted vehicle. He couldn't come out. I only was informed. I came out and met him. Not many people, not even anybody knew that he was the one. And we exchanged pleasantry, and I encouraged him. Because, I saw in him qualities of a very great man whose zeal to fight corruption will help this country. But today I'm alive and I've been disgraced by God. The same person who submitted a report before the then National Assembly is now the grand commander of the forces moving against anybody who if you mention the word to corruption, they will use the NCC to come and arrest you and lock you up. The same person. I wish Nuhu Ribadu did not find himself in this position. I wish he would have ended up with that well-built reputation. Now, if he sees the picture of his boss, the former Inspector General, whom he handcuffed, and looked at the video or picture of how he handcuffed him for corruption, does he have conscience to remain there? Because he arrested his boss for corruption. What of Akwanga, the former minister of Interior, whom he handcuffed and took to court for corruption? And today he is comfortably sitting in a fortified office meant for the national security advisor, with every equipment available for him to track down any Nigerian who mentioned corruption, to come and explain what it means. Because the word mentioning corruption means you are talking about his boss. They will pick you up. They have equipment to track any Nigerian who criticizes this government anywhere he is. Look at how they arrested Adene. They were able to track him. But the National Security Advisor has no equipment to track bandits. And he said they are our brothers. Maybe that's why there's no equipment to track brothers. What are Nigerian leaders hoping to leave as legacies? If God in my life will never allow the devil to tempt me to change his position, Heavenly Father, take my life before then. Let me die with my finger standing up. Even all Nigerians will surrender, let me die with my finger. But I will hate to find myself in a situation like the one Nurubadu found himself just because of materialism. I will die with my hunger. I will die with my poverty. But let me die saying no.
So, in all of this, was the president right to ask the ICPC to start investigation why the principal actors accused, alleged to be involved, still remain in office?
No, the president, his reaction, his belated reaction, suggested that asking of ICPC was an afterthought. Left for the president, he felt that Nigerians were only going to shout and talk and the matter will die down. So it was the inability of the matter to die down. And he reviews the balance sheet of his political capital against 2027 and discovered that it was depleting seriously. That he decided now to mock Nigerians by saying ICPC should investigate. Which ICPC? ICPC is an attack dog meant to hunt down opposition elements. Since ICPC was established, I've never had them as active as they are now. We had very great men that headed that. We had them like this. So they have transformed from fighting corruption to an attack dog to go after opposition elements, hunt them down, lock them in prison. If they are sick and taken to hospital, any doctor who attend to them, you go and arrest the doctor. Make sure that their families are harassed, dramatize the process of prosecution. That is ICPC. Is that the institution that you will now want me, Solomon Dalung, seated here, to believe that is going to investigate ICPC? ICPC has lost their credibility, especially with the mismanagement of the trial of El-Rufai. I've always been saying this. Every kobo stolen by El-Rufai, if it is established, let them send them to jail. But the process of the trial should be based on due process. It should not be persecution. It should be prosecution.
You think he's been persecuted?
Oh, no, there's nothing. No, there's no prosecution going on. There's persecution. Because if ICPC will take El-Rufai to the National Hospital and kept him in a waiting room, a public place, and Nigerians saw him and came in there to greet him, and the doctor has been arrested, what will be the best encyclopedia definition of this? It's persecution. The man has been given so many bails with unmeetable bail conditions, very harsh bail conditions. is taken from here every day to Kaduna, or on the days of trial. The president has come out to say, well, he as a person has nothing to do with his persecution. And to a large extent, I will agree with his denial because it's remotely connected. So if there's no express connection, he's right. So he's been persecuted. But the institution at the center of it is a federal government agency. So asking ICPC to investigate is the president thinking he has shut the mouth of Nigerians who believe ICPC. There are about 10 questions, unanswered questions, which the government has not. And how can you talk about investigating Aden without suspending Gbajabiamila, who is the chief of staff of the president? You see, Gbajabiamila's culpability will arise from two perspectives: omission or commission. So either way you go, you cannot exonerate Gbajabiamila. Because he is the main man in the center of it. So if it's an omission, it's still a crime. If it's a commission, it's still a crime. So why is he still there? Gbajabiamila has once been mentioned in another scandal before. Dr. Edu. And he was mentioned. The Minister of Interior was mentioned. Nothing happened. It was only Edu, who is a minority. And every time in Nigeria, it's minorities that are sacrificed to protect the so-called majority tribes. So they have thrown her under the bus. Do you hear anything about her? So who is fooling who?
All right, let's look at another scandal that is also hovering over the head of the chief of staff to the president, and that is the issue around oil and gas. This one says that the allegation claimed that the unlawful diversion of 54 billion naira in oil and gas royalties from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. What are your thoughts on this situation and development?
Well, it's an extension of God at work. I'm not a prophet, but I believe that heavens had decided to sympathize with helpless Nigerians. So it has set in stage the exposure and the disgrace of this government. Now, what is the effect of what God is trying to do? God is mobilizing the Committee of Nations against Tinubu's government. Because with all this series of scandal, nobody is going to be interested in investing in Nigeria. And nobody is going to be willing to do business with Nigeria. More so that he appointed questionable elements as ambassadors. If they were men of integrity, the world could have trusted them and do businesses with them. And I believe that maybe we are undergoing a phase. But he has not pretended that everything about his government is a rock government. He has not pretended. I was praying to God that he should have appointed Professor Mahmoud as an ambassador to the Vatican so that he can go there and teach the cardinals how to rig the next conclave, where maybe the cardinals would have been voting. Mahmoud could invent a white smoke from anywhere, and then he will announce whoever is the Pope. But God didn't answer my prayer. So this allegation of 54 billion diverted is too serious. And the silence from the State House is also suggesting complicity. They needed to come out clean, not to deny, because denial in the circumstance is not a defense. They need to come out clean and address this issue. But will they be able to address it? Have you not heard of 800 billion taken directly from the Federation account into the campaign account of the president? Have you not read the report of IMF, which suggested that 20% of the budget of Nigeria was spent outside budgetary procedure? That 20% is about 8.8 trillion. Have you heard them say anything about them? So I will advise you as my friend, because I would not want to lose you. These figures, as they grow, check your BP regularly, so that I don't want to receive a text that, oh, he did not wake up from his sleep.
God forbid. All right, I've read you extensively on the social media, some of your reactions to some of these disturbing developments, including the latest one. Nigeria seems to be turning to Honor and Zekwe's 1 week, one trouble, because these days it's looking as if it's 1 day, one trouble. I read some of your reports on the controversies and issues surrounding the death of Mary Habila, a 26-year-old health worker who died under very, very unclear circumstances at Ebonyi State's country home of the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi. He's been speaking. He says he has asked for autopsy. The parents are saying, no, we don't want autopsy. Some other person are saying, no, we don't want autopsy. But he's saying, we want autopsy. What are your thoughts on all of this?
If a biscuit is found in the Reverend Father's dress in a shopping mall, prayers will not explain it. You see, the Minister of Works, who is at the center of this controversy, mismanaged the entire scenario and left a lot of questions, unanswered questions till now. How I wish he would have done the needful from the beginning. I have taken special interest in the matter, and I have digged deeper. I have engaged some of the close persons to Mary Habila. Mary's original name is Mara. So it's because of the inability of people to pronounce it, it's a native name, that she changed to Mary. She's the daughter of a very poor man from Nok, in Java local government of Kaduna State. She's a trained nurse. She got into my employment, through an elderly woman who brought her up from my investigation. And it's through that woman, who is also a nurse to May, that she got into the family. And from my investigation, she's been with Mai for some time. And she's said to be employed at Mai's Federal University of Medical Sciences. And from some of the investigations, I met people close. When he was living as a governor of Oyo State, he got them employed in the university. There are two. There's also an Idoma lady. So there are two. So when Mai became minister, she was now seconded to the Ministry of Works. And I want to inform Nigerians that such things are allowed under our laws. Even when I was a minister, and there was a lady from Plateau that was seconded from the Federal Capital Territory Development to my office under my request. And working with female gender is also something that happens with Nigerian leaders. There are good people that do that. There are those that do it for whatever interest they have. My first appointment was an Igbo woman whom I've never met. She came to me to lobby for an appointment for a Yoruba man. And after presenting her case, she spoke very brilliant and intelligent. So when she left, I asked the person who introduced her, what does she do? And he said, oh, she's also a journalist. So why is she speaking for somebody and not herself? And he said, no, she's quite a very principled woman that not so many people like her. She has uncompromising spirit when issues of injustice is involved. So I just kept quiet. And I made up my mind that I was going to appoint her. So when she turned to my office the following day to hear the report of our discussion, I appointed her. And she nearly collapsed. They have to manage her in the office. I worked with her all through. I traveled with her all through. My photographer, personal photographer, was also an Igbo woman, whom I found in the same situation. Hard-working young woman, but when I was appointed, she was caged from coming close. So one day, God catch them. I went out for inspection, and I saw a young woman almost everywhere. So I asked them, is this a journalist? They said, no, it's staff. But why is she not in the headquarters? So I directed that she should be transferred to the headquarters. They did. And immediately she reported. In the press office, the director was a woman, majority were women. They ganged up against this woman. And they were humiliating her. They prevented her from posting to accompany me. They were saying I was dating her. And I didn't know. So one of my staff came on there and said, sir, do you know that this lady is suffering inside? I said, what happened? He said, all the women there have ganged up against her, that she was my girlfriend. That was why she was posted there. So one day I walked from my office. I made sure that all of them were in the office, the women. So I walked to the office and she was seated and I told her, Neka, you are the minister's girlfriend. And anybody with this type of privilege must enjoy it. You will travel with me every day. So I made sure that I traveled with her everywhere. And when I was leaving the ministry, and they were preparing to deal with her, so I went to a female PAMSEC and explained what happened. And she told me that she went through the same. So she moved her out of the ministry before I left. This long distance is to allow Nigerians prepare their minds that, there are some of these things that are genuinely done. But in the current circumstance, MI mismanaged the situation and he has not been able to answer questions. All the talks, he has been addressing the press, he has been raising more questions. This girl was a daughter, like a daughter to you. I also established that the father has a family relation with me. So, if the girl died in these circumstances that we are made to believe, what stopped the minister from coming up or directing his press secretary to issue a statement announcing the death of his daughter, adopted daughter? And also saying, okay, in view of the circumstances she died as a public officer, I will want an autopsy done. This would have led the issue to rest. But it was covered. Nobody knew about it. 27th of June. Until Sahara reporters blew it up. And when Sahara reporters blew it up, we went into it because there are so many unanswered questions. And I raised one of the questions. That as if it was a May's daughter that died in the house of a farmer, what would have been happening now? The whole of the villagers would have been in Kuje. They would have arrested everybody there. So why would the daughter of a poor man die in a May's house and questions will not be asked? So the minister is the one compounding and agitating the minds of Nigerians with the answers he's providing, the affidavits they have deposed to, the requests for autopsy. His lawyer just wrote on the 17th to demand for autopsy and investigation. She died on the 27th. What was the lawyer doing that he did not write earlier until now? If you look at the deposition, the affidavit of the two persons, and as a lawyer, if you review them, there are gaps in the presentation. If you listen to what Emai is saying, there are gaps. But like I said, having established that there is a family relations, I am going to travel to Nok to meet with the family, to also try to understand more of their relationship and to help Nigerians know. We must not destroy relationships if they exist, and we must not allow politicians to try to take advantage of situations which they owe us explanation. All we are asking is for Umai to be honest and transparent in how she died. Of course, she would have died on that day if that's the day destined by the Lord. But where? How? There are stories that she died in Mabuchi. Yeah. But I think the Mabuchi story is a media hype. I spoke with one of the persons who was with her about a few hours before they went to bed, and she couldn't wake up. He was even there when the door was forced open. And he is the only person in Umai's age who is the closest to her. The lady we are talking about was a very, very reserved lady. She could be here for the whole of the day and she may say one or two things. So I am on this issue because I want to protect the image and the integrity of this dead young lady. Because the story about her was that she's a street girl picked from Kaduna. Which is not true. It's not true. So, in death, she needs some protection of her name, image, and integrity. This is my own interest.
All right. Let's now move a little bit to mainstream politics. The opposition has been complaining that the present government is muzzling them. Do you think the opposition itself is doing enough to hold this government accountable and put them in check?
I think the opposition has been playing Jesus Christ politics because there is already a precedent of how to deal with party in government when it fails to deliver. Tinubu has said, Tinubu and Buhari, and this is my reverend friend in the chairman of Save Nigeria, Tunde Bakari. They have set a precedent that any government that fails to deliver should be harassed with unprecedented protests. And prominent Nigerians, whether they are businessmen, politicians, should join and the government should be whipped to order. But this opposition is playing Jesus Christ politics. That's why Tinubu is doing what he's doing. I've complained severally why has the prominent politicians not joined us on the street? Why? But I realized that most of them are afraid of their business interests and investment. And because of this blackmail that every protest results into destruction. So their businesses may be touched. You know, from the youth protests in Lagos that snowball into destruction of properties, and so many people who even participated in the protest, young people, had their businesses touched. So I think maybe that's what they're afraid of. But they're not doing well enough. I mean, they are even massaging the ego of this government, because some of them, I hear them say, the Tinubu is a very strategic politician. How strategic is Tinubu that he cannot even solve a problem of hunger? Just to be able to come up with a policy in 3 years that would have tackled hunger. Tinubu by now would have farms that young people, young Nigerians in agriculture are manning it, and our grains reserve would have been stocked. Nobody would have been talking about hunger. Today we would have had an effective and functional National Committee on Food Supplies, Food Security, manned by a credible Nigerian with reputable Nigerians brought into it to deal with the issue, so that they can take off the issue of hunger from my table while I do my politics with a handcuff on my cap, going about buying governors, buying councillors to join my party. But this man cannot distinguish between politics and governance. In governance, you need everybody. Even your enemy, you need him. Babangida did that. Why can't Tinubu get somebody to help him read Babangida's book for him? How he managed this situation. Babangida wrote a book that left no Nigerian with an excuse as to how to deal with problems. I read the book. And I recommend it to Tinubu.
All right, let's look at the issue of 2027. Do you have any fears President Tinubu could stay beyond 2027?
President Tinubu is working very hard to stay beyond 2027, but not even through the ballot.
Through what then?
Tinubu from day one did not pretend that he will want to emerge as a democratic monarch of Nigeria. He has not pretended. That's why from day one, any vestiges of democracy has destroyed them. Rule of law, the judiciary, the economy, political parties. The recent one he is doing is they are buying some of the opposition leaders that have been in the ADC. We've lost quite a number again. One of our gubernatorial candidates had joined Tinubu. I saw him snapping picture with him. One of the strongest supporters of the Waziri Adama Alaja Abukatiku, the presidential candidate of ADC, had also jumped ship. She's now, I saw her the other day calling Tinubu Baba. All this cannot happen except on your dollar we shall stand. So, there is no any indication that we are heading towards a transition. There's no indication. Gbajabiamila Miller, who is the Tinubu's chief of staff, was caught on camera instigating the only elected member of House of Reps of ADC to destroy that party. If a chief of staff lacks every moral ingredient and went on camera to make that statement, of course you will know that we are governed by impunity. Now, what is Tinubu up to? Tinubu may confront a very serious challenge because Tinubu has everything. He has his bishops. When he was trying to be endorsed and the church said no, he invented his bishop and bought regalia for them to gather in Yaradua Center to endorse him. So the Nigerian Bar Association will be surprised. They will be seeing some senior advocates where there was no Supreme Court that conducted investiture on them. And these Tinubu senior advocates will help him to say he is qualified to be the first with the right of refusal. So he will continue in a very sham and well-organized, well-orchestrated sham elections organized by the current INEC chairman.
Lest I forget, since you mentioned it, talk about the Nigerian Bar Association. There have been these ongoing ripples about NBA talking about the government trying to infiltrate or to guide and direct them how they should conduct their elections. I read the NBA president, Afamu Sigwe, saying that they will not concede to anybody directing externally, that they remain resolute in what they've done. How do you see that?
Well, I'm proud of the current president of NBA. I know him personally and closely. He's one Nigerian that Nigerians should pray for. Except that, sorry, let me use the word naive. If he has not expected what he saw now, then he's naive. NBA was the professional body alongside Nigerian Labour Congress that forced the military. They set the tune for the emergence of anti-democratic organizations that forced the military out of power. And Tinubu knew this very well. He knew that one of the greatest problems he's going to have is the Nigerian Bar Association. And that's why I told you that he's going to recruit the bad elements in the senior bar are already there for him to harvest. But he will need to also dilute it with his own senior advocates. So he's going to get president of maybe road transport. He will get some of this city boys movement, and they will get a rope of it for them, and then mix them up, and you will have another Tinubu Bar Association. But their own wig will have a handcuff on it. So there will be a Tinubu set of senior advocates. But I want to encourage the bar that the Nigerian bar is the custodian, the hope of the Nigerian people. And no force can break them. No force. Any attempt from anybody to infiltrate the bar is the end is the political obituary of whosoever is involved. The military failed. So a civilian wearing agbada with handcuff on his head cannot succeed. The bar remains resolute as the custodian of the right of the Nigerian people with the judiciary of the people. Because the judiciary has also been fragmented into two. Very soon, some of these Tinubu judges will be wearing a handcuff on their gowns to sit because they are so shameless. Very, very shameless. Destroying our heritage for whatever pecuniary gains. So this is the situation we have found ourselves as a country. But for the bar, it's a no-go area. His advisors should tell him, once he attempts the bar, he should measure the grave, his political grave. That's the end of his politics.
the Tinubu government, have they crossed the lines that have made you to say, where is our democracy going? Has raised their concern?
Every existing red lines have been crossed by Tinubu. There's only one left. That's the election red line. Every red line you know. What are you talking? The rule of law, a pillar of democracy, had been taken away from the people. Civil liberties, they are clamping down on Nigerians and locking them every day. The essence of governance itself, which is provided by the Constitution, Section 14, 2, Section B, security and the general well-being of the people. They can't even deliver that. Corruption is the official value of this government. Scandals is their perfume. So which red line do you, the only red line left now, look at how they changed the national anthem, a heritage of the people, 1914. Because the national anthem reflects the aspiration of the Nigerian state. And it was changed in 5 minutes with a cup of tea. No engagement, no discussion. So which red line are you talking again? In the comfort of his bedroom, he awarded a 17 trillion naira contract to his friend, Shagore, with his son as a director in that company. He took the second highest national honor, Grand Commander of the Niger, and went out of the territory of Nigeria and donated it to his friend in France. So what again are we expecting? I can go on and on and on. So the red line that is left now is election. Look at the caliber of people he appointed as ambassadors. Even military government send the best to represent them. Armed robbers will send imams and pastors to be the ambassadors. But Tinubu government send, we know what we are practicing now is what is called rock diplomacy. And that's why South Africa is doing what it's doing. Discredited elements were posted out as ambassadors to represent Nigeria. And these people's credibility is globally known. Some of them are having corruption charges hanging on their necks. An ambassador of Nigeria is coming to court to answer for corruption. So we have exported corruption. And those countries are not going to sit and watch.
Let's wrap up this way. In the northern region where you come from, what are the chances that President Tinubu will still command the support of the North heading into 2027 election?
Well, you see, the emergence of the presidential candidates had regionalized the politics of Nigeria and taken us back to the First Republic. And fortunately for the North, which is about 3/4 of Nigerian landmarks and population, they have only one candidate. In the Southwest, there are 3. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Sheyi, who has invited the United Nations to come and prop the abductions, which they have gone to National Assembly to be shouting and crying. The president, Senate president, even Shomole shouting. The best thing that has ever been done by a Nigerian leader since 1999 is the call by Sheikh Makinde for the international community of the United Nations to probe the abduction. He has not exonerated himself. He is the governor of Oyo State where this thing happened. That is the peak of honesty and transparency. My hands are clean. Police, come, I'm not a thief. If you are not a thief, why would they shout of hey in the market and you start running? Why are they jittering? This young man, Sheikh Makinde, had earned my respect for the second time. The first time in the Ibadan political summit, he warned Tinubu that Operation Wait started here in Ibadan and consumed that republic. That this young man had to come up again. He had my respect. I will be looking up to a future leader in him. I'm joining him to call on United Nations and the UN Human Rights Commission, Amnesty International, and all other international human rights organizations to launch an unprecedented investigation, deploying every technology to establish the culprits behind Oyo abduction. Therefore, Nigeria as a country must survive. The situation where we have people in power, instead of running this country and enjoying immunity, they are running the country under impunity. Everything about them is either scandal, fake, or controversy. Is it the legacy, let me ask my brother, we are going to bequeath to our children? If Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, or Para, or Sadibe, Aminu Kano, Sadona, did this, will you be able to be wearing suit like this? You would have been walking without even pants on this street if they have done this. They sacrifice for us. So the North is going to win this election in 2023. Landslide. 2027, landslide. It is a litmus test of northern Nigeria to establish its dominance over the political configuration of Nigeria, to prove that, well, we have the population to install. And if we install a tyrant, we also have the power to throw him out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure having you around.
I'm always happy to be with you, but you always disturb my day.
Good disturbance anyway. It's for the good of the country.
Yeah, positive disturbance.
It's for the good of the country.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much.